Welcome to You're Still Doing That, where we talk to everyday people about their childhood joys that have endured into adulthood. Virtually sitting next to me today through all of the interwebs is...
TJ or Tyler Russell, I guess.
All
uh,
right, Tyler. What do you like to go by?
well, I've got one of my best friends' name is Tyler also, so I just go by TJ for the most part.
All right, TJ. TJ, what are we talking about today?
Oh man, all kinds of stuff. So toys and nostalgia, and I'm a big collector, so there's a lot up here to talk about.
All right, well, let's get into it. Now, can you stuff them in a tom-tom to keep them warm?
What is happening? I was like, I'm a Jedi, babe.
All right, Tyler, welcome to the 7th episode of You're Still Doing That. Tyler is a big collector of all kinds of action figures, a big Star Wars fan. Tyler, tell everybody, where do you live at?
I'm out in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Knoxville, Tennessee. All right, our podcast is expanding, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah.
We're leaving North Carolina. I love it. All right, Tyler, what kind of things do you like to collect?
So primarily right now, I've kind of dumbed it down to Mythic Legions and Hot Toys, simply for the fact that as a collector, I was very obsessive, and I would get in these things where I would collect a good line of figures and then kind of got bored with it, and I would collect something else and something else, or I'd just go somewhere and find something that looks cool, and I'd pick it up because it was only $30 and it looked cool. So those kind of things I'm trying not to do anymore, and
That's right.
it kind of
That
helps.
all adds up.
Oh yeah, it does. Hot Toys and Mythics are expensive, but they're also not regularly available at your local like Walmart and Walgreens. So I kind of have to go to shows or order online and wait and kind of accumulate the money a little bit before I start throwing it on everything here and there.
Right, and they are super realistic too. If you guys have never seen Mythic or Hot Toys, they're the real deal, man. They're not your normal Walmart brand stuff.
Yeah, and
That's
I
for
think
sure.
that's kind of where I hopped into the Mythics and Hot Toys too. I mean, Hot Toys are king of collecting, obviously. They're just very expensive. So there's that. But as far as 6 to 7 inch, the 12 scale goes, I mean, Mythic Legion's just kind of, I don't know, you can't really beat it. There's so many different aspects of that line that you can go with, like orcs or goblins or giant skeletons, knights, gladiators, so on and so forth. Just whatever you like.
So, when did you start collecting?
Oh man. So I'd like to say as a kid, maybe, 9-ish, 10, somewhere in there, I started getting my Star Wars stuff. And that was kind of my primary focus when I actually started collecting versus when I was younger than that. I was like, I really like Spider-Man and Batman. Those were my two go-tos. So I had a
Right.
lot of those, but it wasn't like I've got to have, that one, and then I also have to have those seven because those go with that. But
Uh huh.
Star Wars is kind of where I started getting into, well, I want that one because it goes with this one. You can't have Darth Maul without Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. You
That's right.
can't have
Yeah, you
Luke.
can't have one without the other. That's for
Yeah.
sure. And I think a lot of people probably started with Star Wars or Spider-Man. I was a big X-Men fan when I was a kid,
Oh, yeah.
and so I think whatever you're watching, you wanted to have the set of everybody.
It,
It was definitely
that's kind of the thing with collecting too is you can it, the entertainment, like, I don't know, watching a movie like the Punisher, for example. You watch the Punisher, you're like, oh man, it'd be kind of cool to have like a little 6-inch figure of the Punisher. But that's, I don't know, that's kind of where it goes wrong because, like, for example, I watched Black Adam and then I went to GameStop and bought like all 6 or 7 of the figures and ended up spending close to $200. And
right.
then
Yeah, exactly.
now I don't have them. I have two of them, but I sold the rest. It's like, I don't, why did I, it's just, obsessive that you get into
Right.
it and you really enjoy what you're watching or playing games or whatever, and just jump into it a little too hard sometimes.
Sometimes if you're not careful, yeah, you're thinking, why did I buy all of these things
Yeah.
after you got them? But it's fun, and so it's always good to follow what our passion is. Um,
Right.
what was your favorite Star Wars collectible when you were little? What was one of your favorites?
Um. So I couldn't really tell you like pinpoint exactly what my favorite would be, but thinking back, I still have it too. It's a little Silicious Crumb, kind of like a Beanie Baby almost. And
Yeah.
when I was watching the original trilogy when I was younger, I fell in love with characters. And in Jabba's palace there was so much going on, but Silicious Crumb could always make me laugh. And that was kind of, I'd try and mimic it and people would look at me funny. But I really liked, I don't know, I really liked that. It kind of, I don't know if it would be considered a collectible or just kind of like a stuffed animal, but that was one of those that I held on to and really enjoyed for a long time.
Right. I had two. Speaking of Java, the two things I liked at Java the most was, of course, and I can't remember. I'm terrible with names. The monster in the pit. Uh,
Oh, the Rancor.
the Rancor. That's right. I loved the Rancor. That was the toy that I begged for the most, and I also loved the little tiny uh, little, I don't know, rodent of a thing that would sit there and laugh at people whenever Jabba was poking fun at somebody.
Yeah,
It's a little guy
yeah, Silicious Crumb.
that sat in there in the corner.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. The little.
Oh yeah, yeah, yes, yeah, that's the laugh right there. Yeah, those were the two that I dug the most out of that whole Jabba Palace thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I loved it. I loved it. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your mythics. How did you get into doing mythics?
Oh man. So there's my wife tells me, she's like, I don't understand the mythics thing. It's like Dungeons and Dragons, and you have basically like no nostalgic background to why you would be collecting these. That's kind of wrong because as a kid, I would always run around with a stick and a trash can lid, and I'm like, I am, Sir Tyler of
Right.
Knoxville, So it's one of those. I used to have a whole bunch of pirates and like knights and gladiator type toys because that was always like one of those things that I would play with and didn't really have any connection to, in the sense of, well, knights have to look this way, or like you only Siths can have red lightsabers. So if you had a red lightsaber, you had to be a Sith. Well, if you have a sword, you can be a good guy, a
Right.
bad guy, an orc, a
That's right. You
goblin.
sure can.
So a couple years ago, I was watching a friend of mine now, Josh Pence. He's a YouTuber, and he collects mythics, and he's actually the reason I'm in mythics and hot toys. He kind of pushed me towards those, but um, I saw him collecting mythic legions, and I was kind of like, "Whoa, those look super super duper cool." And I had absolutely no idea how cool they actually were until November of last year in 2022, because like I said, you can't regularly find them at Walmart and Target, so they were a
Right.
lot harder to find. Even going to conventions, I go to conventions multiple times a year, and I've never seen a single one until I went to Retro Toy Con in Nashville, I think it was November last year,
Right.
and I found somebody who was willing to trade like six figures for a 12-inch Joker that I had. And it was a third party Joker, so it was only, I was selling it for like 180, and I did the math on what he gave me. He gave me almost $300 worth of Mythic Legions. So that was a total score. And then on top of
Right.
that, I ended up picking up like three or four other figures from Mythics from that convention. So that's how I, kind of dipped my toes in the water. And now I actually counted them before we got on here so I could have an accurate idea. But
Right. I
since,
was going to ask you how many.
Too many. So I've got 70 on the shelf right now and in the detolfs. So there's between the horses and the half giants, the trolls, and then all the 6 and 7 inch figures in between, there are 70 on the shelf right now in my room. And I've
Right.
got maybe a buddy of mine is sending 7, another friend sending 1. So there's another 8. And then I've probably got uh, 10-ish on order that come out next year, first quarter, I think. So over 80 in total that I've got paid for. They're just not all here yet.
Right. Yeah.
So
Well, the mythic stuff is no joke. I have not. Well, I may have seen one in person. I just didn't know what I was looking at. But looking online, I look at your collection. They are the real deal in the way of artistry and realisticness. They're pretty stout pieces of art for collectors. So
they
they
are.
look great.
It really gives. I don't really call myself an artist, but I do. I paint action figures and I build dioramas for people, and you know I do a lot of creative work. So they have what's called Mythic Legion builders. So they'll have like a skeleton or a dwarf or um, I don't know, an orc or something. And they'll call them builders, and they're all just kind of baseline colors. There's not a lot of detail to them. So then you can take them out of the box and do absolutely whatever your mind can get to. You know,
Oh, well, that's pretty cool.
complete creative freedom. And I've got a good handful that I've painted. I've got a good amount that I've painted and sold. But I really enjoy the creative freedom on these and how they're not specific to, you don't, like I said before, there's a red lightsaber specific to one character.
Right.
You can do
Yeah.
whatever you
Mythic Legions. Yeah. It's not built off of a universe that already exists.
want. Correct.
They're their own kind of standalone thing. And I really liked it. I didn't know you could basically get a blank one and design it yourself at home. That's pretty
Yeah.
sweet.
And I listened to the podcast before and I heard you speak about Legos. And I think I've mentioned this before, but they are like the Lego of action figures. You can take every single piece apart from these guys and then mix and match whatever parts you want. I've probably got 10 in my collection right now from what we call fodder parts, where
Right.
you just have an extra amount of heads and torsos, legs, and so on. You can throw them together and make whatever characters you want. I mean, this guy, I don't know if you can still see the screen, but this guy up here, um, he is one that I had just done last night, and that's it's
Did you paint him or did you put the pieces together?
so this one last night I just threw the pieces together. I didn't paint anything,
Yeah.
and it looks really cool the way it is. I don't paint them yet when I throw them together because I just kind of want to make sure that's where I want the parts to go. But there's so much creative freedom with these.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I really like how you can interchange parts
Yeah,
to
it's
get them
wild.
looking just the way you want. Yeah,
It's
I
super
really do
neat.
love that. Um, Now you also got a few hot toys in your collection too.
Just
Tell everybody what's a hot toy.
so a hot toy is a it's a 1/6 scale, so about 12 inches, completely posable statue like of man, I don't know how to explain. So it's like a 12-inch figure that's posable, but they are like museum quality. You put them
Yeah,
in.
they look exactly the same as what you saw on the screen. I mean, exactly the same.
So
It's unreal.
there's, yeah, the head sculpts. I've actually taken pictures. For example, my Tamia Morrison Commander Cody that I have. I've taken pictures, and people were like, "Oh my God, you met Tamia Morrison?" I'm like, "Nah, bro, that's like a $250 action figure." And they're like,
Right?
"What?" Yeah. So I mean, they're very expensive. They have.
Yeah, they're no joke with the cost. It's just like buying of a large Lego set. They're hundreds of dollars, but they are pieces of art, as what they are. They're
and
really good.
and that's why I enjoy them so much. But so I got into Hot Toys before Mythics, just because I couldn't get my hands on the Mythics yet. Um, so I have in my collection right now 30 Hot Toys and about eight on order. And this isn't. I'm not rich. I'm just irresponsible. So if you're
Right.
listening to this, like, man, I wish I could
I'm not
afford that.
rich. I'm just irresponsible. Let's put that on a T-shirt, man.
So there's no like, oh, I wish I could afford it. It's just like I get my bills paid. I eat a lot of ramen noodles. So,
Right.
it's
Exactly. Yeah.
there's 30 of those in the collection, and then I guess one, two, three, four, five, six or seven third party 12-inch figures in there. So they're not Hot Toys, but they are pretty good quality. Um, so that, and then
All
like
right.
I said, a handful on
So
order.
looking on the screen of these Hot Toys, you've got some Star Wars I see up top there, and
Yeah,
Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul, and then I'm guessing those are Bad Batch stormtroopers there on the end.
yeah.
Who's below the stormtroopers?
Right here.
Yeah.
So that is John Wick, and
Oh, I was gonna ask if it was John Wick, but I didn't want to say it in case
yeah.
it wasn't. Because man, I'm telling you, as I look at these people's collections, I'm not a collector myself, but then I see other people's collections, and then uh, I was like, "Ooh, I didn't realize I wanted that until I saw somebody, and I was like, oh, I never realized how neat that would have." And
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, it's like if that's John Wick, that's another one. I was like, I never knew I wanted a John Wick action figure until I
The
just saw one down there, and I was like, oh, that would be. And then you've got the Punisher next to him.
yeah. So I've got the
If that
CW.
is would not be like if John Wick is not the bringer of death himself, if you put him and the Punisher together, that needs to be a movie. John Wick versus the Punisher.
Oh
That would
man,
be epic.
I don't even know if I would want to see them fight each other. More so, see them
Uh,
fight with each other, like side by side. Because I mean, they
n-
are.
no, you would see them fight each other like Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America fought each other. It wouldn't be to the death. There would be like somebody would stop it, in the middle, and they would come to realize, what are we doing? We need to go.
Oh
We
yeah.
need to go defeat this other worse evil than ourselves, and then they would stop. But I would love to see John Wick.
So
And
I think it.
what's the actor's name that does the new Punisher? I
Uh,
forget his name. He
John
was in
John
Walking Dead.
Bernthal.
Yeah, see those two together. I think that would be just bloody brutal, man.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It would be incredible. And
yeah.
this,
You need to put him in the next John Wick. That's for sure.
the Punisher was one of my all-time, like one of my grails that I really, really wanted to get because it was already out of production by the time I got into Hot Toys by a couple years. And my wife, being the saint that she is, for my birthday last year, I believe it was in October, we went to the local comic shop, Comics Exchange, and he had him there, and it was 450, and we ended up snagging it for 400. She paid for the whole thing. It was my birthday gift, and I think it's crazy, and it's worth noting how much these go up in price after a certain amount of time. They're out of production. You can't get them anymore. So that was a $220 figure in 2017 or 18, and buying it 2022, it was $400.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy how realistic these things are.
Yeah, it is. It
Super
is wild.
realistic. Yeah, it is. If you're a collector, it is worth the money if you want the realism, because you could legit do stop motion with these things, and if you're good with your stop motion, people would really think you had uh, Keanu Reeves in there if you did
Oh yeah, and
some stop
it's.
motion filming of him beating up a stormtrooper, and you're like, what? When did this happen?
I think the coolest part about Hot Toys, honestly, is when people come to the house and they're like, "Oh, he's a collector nerd. He's got all these toys. He wastes his money on plastic." They come in the house and they're like, "Damn, that is, whoa, that's a toy? Like, yeah, it costs
Yeah.
like 250, $300, but that is in fact a toy. They're like, that's, I've never seen, and it kind of gets those people who are like, no, you dork, you collect toys, to be like, oh, I would buy that. So that's where I'm
Right.
at
I
with.
don't see how I see it is everybody's got their thing that they like to do. It could
Yeah,
be action figure toy stuff. It could be power tools. It could be stuff to go on your boat on the lake. I mean, sports memorabilia.
my wife
It
used to
could
collect
be
shot
all the
glasses.
pots and yeah, all the pots and pans in your kitchen or home decor. I mean, it's whatever you're into. I mean, you're gonna spend your extra money on whatever it is you like. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I love it, man. Those stuff they look so good too. The hot toy stuff. I don't know if I would buy one myself, but just because of the price. Now, see, I say that,
I
but
was
I
gonna tell
might
you, Matt,
drop.
I've got one for
I was gonna
sale.
say I might drop $300 or $400 on a Lego set, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
I've got a deluxe Luke Skywalker up here, and it's got some crazy stuff with it, and it goes for like 500, and I've put it up for 425 shipped. But
Yeah,
the market's a little funky right now. People are selling stuff super cheap, and if anybody's listening and you're actually interested in hot toys, I would get on the Facebook groups because there are hot toys on there like stormtroopers or shore troopers, shock troopers, whatever. People are selling them for about 150 to 180 shipped, and their base price is about 220 to 230 plus
yeah. I was
taxes and
about to
shipping.
say if you can get a hot toy for 200 or less, you're getting a deal on it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When I was shopping around looking at them online the other day before we were talking today, I was amazed at the prices these things were going for.
Oh
There
yeah.
was I think I saw the first one that came up. It was a Java, and I forget what came with them, but it was selling for 600. And there was I forget the other Star Wars next to them, but it was also 500 something.
And
Crazy
see,
stuff.
that's my primary focus on hot toys is Star Wars, because it's I have a little saltiness towards Hasbro right now, just because I've collected Hasbro for a long time, uh, Marvel and Star Wars and all that, and their prices are going up. They're not changing much. They're giving you like a blaster with Hondo where it used to be 16, $17. Now it's like 25, 26. I can't. That to me is where the money's wasted when you're buying the same thing you were before with nothing more for more.
Right.
So, I've got three, six, seven, maybe 10 Black Series figures now, where I used to have like 65 or so. But I just figured Hot Toys and Mythics, their resale value is always there. Usually, you're never ever ever going to lose money on the two, and that's
Right.
kind of what I think about in the future. Because I'm not going to be young and collecting stuff like this forever. Eventually, I'm going to go, well, I kind of want to buy an RV and travel around, so let me just sell some hot
Yes.
toys. So
That's
that's,
what I told my wife we're doing whenever I end up retiring from teaching. I was like, we're gonna get an RV and go somewhere.
oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
All right, so let's talk a little Star Wars, TJ.
All
What
right.
was your first? What was your first Star Wars you saw in the theater?
First, I saw in the theater, so I'm 30. Um, so it was Phantom Menace was the first one I saw in theater, but it definitely, my fandom started. My dad introduced me to Star Wars when I was very young, and started, 4, 5, 6, and then
Yeah,
eventually
yeah, that's how
Phantom.
I was when my kids were like 4 or 5. I was like, all right, you're gonna watch Star Wars. We're gonna start this.
Oh yeah, if you can talk, you need to know what the Force is. so
Yeah, that's right.
so that's my dad got me started on that, and it was very, very, very cool. But the first one in theaters was Phantom Menace for sure.
So I got to ask you your opinion since Phantom Menace was your first theater go. What is your take on Jar Jar Binks? Because I'm interested to see. Because
Okay.
all my kids, their first, uh, uh, it's interesting to hear the different generations and how they look at stuff. So I'm interested to see what you say. about Senator Jar Jar. I think he ended up becoming.
Okay, so my take on Jar Jar, I think Ahmad Best actually killed the role. I think it was great. I think even Jake Lloyd, little Anakin, I think he did amazing. That people, tore him down, and I don't see why. I think the characters, so A New Hope, Return, and Empire were all made for kids during that time. Yes, there's a huge following in the adult community, but it was George Lucas always said that it was made for kids. There's
Correct.
always
Yep.
that funny aspect, there's that childish aspect. So, the people that are watching 4, 5, 6, they go to watch it, Phantom Menace in theaters for the first time, and they walk out
Yeah.
all upset about Jar Jar.
And
But
we're all in our 30s. Yep. We're all in our 30s. We just watched the kid flick.
right. And I'm confused why that upset people because Jar Jar and Salacious Crumb are kind of like both dumb, silly characters. And you laughed at Salacious Crumb. Why aren't you laughing at Jar Jar? And,
Right.
he got more screen time, and they did put him up there a little more than me personally. I don't think it was too much, but some people may have been like, yeah, he's up there, 2 or 3 scenes too long. And that's fine. But I just I think that Jar Jar was great. I think it was a great.
Lucas is a genius because the first one, in my opinion, at least the first Star Wars, when it came out, it was geared towards the younger generation.
Correct.
And so he did the exact same thing with Phantom Menace. And it wasn't geared for my brother and I, it was geared for kids in elementary and middle school. And my kids all think Phantom Menace is fine. They like Phantom Menace. They like Jar Jar. They like Jake Lloyd as little Anakin. They love it all. And so I'm like, well, what the hell do I know? Because George Lucas knows what he's doing. Because
My
he did the exact same recipe again, and he made the first one definitely for kids, and then got a little older as it went on.
it's for me, it's not even the artistry behind the entire franchise. It's the fact that George Lucas was so smart in the sense of thinking this out. Like, you're going to have the returning fans that watch the original three. They're going to come back in 10, 20 years, whatever. They're going to watch the next three. They may not like it as much. They're still going to watch it. And you know what?
They're still gonna go. Yeah,
They're going to watch 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 because they're Star Wars fans. They're going to continue to watch them. But bringing in the Phantom's Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, the people like myself that were young during that time not only have watched the original trilogy more than likely because our parents,
right.
they're going to watch the 1 through 3 and be like, oh my god, this is amazing. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm going to continue going. And then our kids and our kids' kids and so on. There's always going to be that generation that's going to go, well, my generation had the best Star Wars, just like high school.
Right.
Class
Yep.
of '99 was the best.
Yep.
Right, but you also respect class of 2000 because we all went through the same thing. We're all into it. It's about the fandom in the end. It's not really like a competitive thing of who had the best generation of Star Wars. Because I mean, if we had to say, it's always going to be the original trilogy, 4 through 6. You can't beat that in my opinion. But I did grow up on 1 through 3, so that's just how it is. Everybody's going to have their opinion on it, but as a whole, the Star Wars universe is it's always going to be loved by the next generation and the previous
Right.
generation.
Yep. I'm interested when they put out the next Star Wars with Rey taking over as lead Jedi. I'm interested to see if that too is going to be more
Ooh,
of a kid flick, or are they going to keep it more adult like all the rest of the Star Wars that comes out? It's all pretty adult aimed stuff, except for
yeah.
Mandalorian. Mando's been really smart about finding the line between pleasing the parents but still hooking in the kids too.
Well, that's
They've been really
because
good.
John Favreau and Dave Filoni, they are original generation, and they want to keep that aspect of it alive because Disney has kind of taken it in a weird direction, like making the storyline not make too much sense. And I personally am not a huge fan of the most recent films or the recent trilogy, but I mean, I've only seen I've seen The Force Awakens least 2 or 3 times, but the other two I've only seen once, which was in theaters. I don't really plan on rewatching them because they're not my favorite. So I've got a glimpse of what the original trilogy people were like. Phantom Menace. Ugh. So, but it also is, Disney is really changing a lot of things about Star Wars. So there's that to go into it too. But also people with the Phantom Menace were like, George Lucas just made it for kids. But I don't know. It's all opinion based. As long as we can all get along and agree that we love Star Wars as a whole franchise,
That's right.
then we're good.
Now, it's interesting. The last three Star Wars to come out. The more the more I've watched them, I think I've become more of a was it Last Jedi, the middle one? I think that one's become more and more my favorite out of the three.
Is that
With the exception of the gambling planet that they went to go try to find the code breaker. That was, if you could take that out of the movie, just ignore that whole storyline.
Yeah.
I think people would have liked it more. I didn't see any point to that because they didn't break any code to begin with overall. So, but for me, that movie when they're fighting down on the planet with the sand that was blood red when it got messed up.
Yes.
Spectacular. The sword, the lightsaber fight in the throne room with Rey and Kylo Ren. Is like the best one of the best Star Wars ever. Is that fight scene is spectacular.
I really do enjoy that, and there are, when you watch it as a whole, like that whole scene, it's amazing. But when people break it down and they're like, Rey didn't actually even touch this character, she didn't kick this character, whatever it is, I'm like, yeah, let's pay attention. But it's I think one of the coolest things about that film is Luke's projection, which we have never seen used
right,
as
that
a
was first time
yet.
Yeah.
So I didn't even catch up on it. I didn't, everything's turning red in the sand where the footprints or the line marks are from the ships, and then you have Luke walking out there, and I was like, why isn't it red?
I was like, Luke comes out, and I was like, oh, he cleaned up for this fight, man, is what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's just, I thought that was one of the moments where I was like, okay, we did something better than before.
Yeah.
Meaning, the Force Awakens and all that. We kind of took it in a different direction, showing other sides of the Force, and I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, and when the Step-in General, when she flew their spaceship into the Empire spaceship, when she God, I want to say a Star Trek reference, but she did warp. That's not what they call it. I told you I'm terrible with names of anything.
Oh man!
But when she flew the ship into Kylo Ren's and blew it up, I thought artistically wise that was really, really great. But Carrie Fisher flying through space in the beginning, that was awful.
Yeah,
I was like, I was like, you should have just killed her off, man.
Yeah.
But why did you have her? Yeah, that was awful.
I agree.
You had Poe doing this great speech, like, pretending that the general wasn't even there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? The connection's bad. The connection's bad. And then he dropped some line about, he dropped some sort of your mom joke right at the end before he goes nuts. And I was like, all of this is gold. And, but yeah, the flying Carrie Fisher thing was awful. And then the flying, I couldn't stand those two parts, but the other stuff was great.
That scene with Poe kind of put me in the mind of Han when they were on, I think it was one of the Star Destroyers or something, where they were like, no, we're all fine.
Yeah, he did. Yep, yeah, he did the same thing. You're right.
So I thought
you're breaking up on me. I can't hear you. Chewie fixed the hyperdrive. That's the word, hyperdrive. I knew it'd come to me.
It was such a good scene.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that one's become my favorite if I can just forget those other two.
Correct. Yeah,
Um,
I agree with that.
yeah, and then the last one was this sort of I don't know about the last one. It just seemed to take forever to get to what it
Yeah,
needed to do. It took forever to get to what it needed to do. I really liked the moment at the end where you heard all the Jedi talking to Rey to wake her up.
Ooh, complete
And
transparency. In my opinion, that was the
yeah,
only cool scene in that
yeah,
entire
but I mean
film.
that was it, right? I mean, even the Rey and Kylo Ren fight um, on the uh, on the water with the Death Star there in the water and they're battling the waves. I mean, it was cool, but it just didn't have the punch we've seen before.
They were just
And
hurling their lightsabers like they had staff.
yeah,
They were just like bringing it out like a
yeah,
hammer and something. I just, uh,
and I did like bringing Han Solo back, but I mean, I was like, is he a Jedi? I mean, what is he doing there? Is Kylo just talking to himself? What's going
yeah,
on here?
it's
I was like, I don't mind. I was like, I don't mind it, but I don't know. I was
it's a
like, all right.
confusing
I mean, I'll
thing,
always take more Harrison Ford, but I was
right?
like,
Yeah,
maybe we could have done this a little better. But I did like he was like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I don't know. This is your memory." And then at the end, I was like, "Palpatine." It's like, how many of these movies? And I was like, we have more Death Stars and more Palpatine. I was like,
it's just they got crap for the Last Jedi, and then
yeah,
they wanted to go call back to the original trilogy and say, well, they really enjoyed these things. Yeah, like
yeah.
50
Let's
years
do them
ago.
again.
So let's bring it new
Yeah, The
because
Force Awakens was good because it really did hit everybody's nostalgia. I
yeah,
mean, it scratched every itch we had
they
all the way around.
they
But
played it
I,
safe.
yeah, we didn't see anything new except for Harrison Ford dying at the end.
You know, the Cassian series, the Endor series, or Andor, not Endor. The Andor series, I have never not watched all the way through anything Star Wars. I always complete it, even the cartoons, all of them, Visions, every bit of it. But
Right.
that show, I was just like, why? And he's a great actor. Don't get me wrong. I love the actor himself. He did an amazing job. But it's such a pointless character to focus on that it got me like I don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't understand why we spent.
He it's like it was the most Star Wars series we've had. Watching this thing, it's like, what am I watching? I was like, this is not Star Wars. I mean, it's in the Star Wars universe, and we got the Star Wars character, but it's not very Star Wars.
Yeah,
Um, and I don't know if I liked it or not yet. I haven't decided.
if
And man, did it go slow. I mean it really moves slow, and there was hardly any action in it whatsoever.
yep, I was episode 6, I think, and I said, you know what? There is like I'm the turtle has won the race at this point. The rabbit is all the way back there, and that's this series. I'm done. I'm past the finish line. I cannot watch any more of this. If it
Now
didn't,
the opposite is there's a horde of people that think that's the best Star Wars that's ever been made.
and it's
Is
the
that
people
series?
who aren't like super obsessed with Star Wars. I've got a huge Star Wars tattoo on my arm. Like I'm a little obsessive with Star Wars, but I
Oh,
think
let me see it. What does it look like?
all right. So don't make
I
fun
don't
of
know
me
if you can.
just yet.
Oh, I'm not going to
It's
make fun of it, but oh
so
yeah,
it's a
that looks
first
good.
order trooper. It's actually a
Yeah.
FN 2199, and then it's got the Imperial symbol. But
Is that the guy that we first saw trying to in Force Awakens trying to beat up who was it? I guess it was Harrison Ford. No, it wasn't
uh,
Harrison
it
Ford.
was
It
Finn.
was Finn. Yeah, he's got the big
He comes out with the
lightning
riot
rod thing.
baton. Yeah, the
Yeah, I
riot
remember
baton.
seeing that weapon and I was like, "Oh, they have
Yeah,
upgraded."
dude. When he came out and he just had that thing, traitor. I was like, yo, that guy right there is gonna
Yeah,
be
that was
some
straight Mortal Kombat move right there when he brought that weapon
exactly.
out.
I loved that so much because
Yeah.
it. all through Star Wars, these troopers don't really have a name. They have numbers. But to me, that guy had a name, and he just stood out to me. But
Yeah.
I love the troopers. It's always been probably my favorite part of Star Wars, aside from like the Jedi and Sith and Force and all that. So this eventually will be a sleeve. And I got the Imperial symbol with the First Order trooper because the First Order symbol, I do not like it. It looks very difficult, and the lines have to be precise. And also, this is going to be a whole sleeve. It's going to be
Right.
all Star Wars, and it'll probably go into my back. And if I can stop spending money on these, toys, I can
Right.
continue with
You
the
probably
sleeve.
got your whole tattoo finished just in Hot Toys there. That's for sure.
Oh man, I have my
You got
entire
quite a
body.
bit. Yep.
It's crazy. I do to kind of bring the Star Wars to like a conclusion of sorts. I'm a huge fan. I always have been. I always will be, no matter what direction they take it in. And I feel like there's so much they can do, so much they haven't done. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to what they bring out next and the future generations. I want Star Wars to live on until a meteor hits the world or however it
Right.
ends. I want Star Wars to be on someone's television at that time because
Well, they got enough storyline, that's for sure, to
oh
tell it
yeah. I
with all
just
the books and things that have been written.
oh yeah. I mean, I don't know how long your podcast usually goes, but I could Star Wars it up all day every day.
All right. What do you think is your favorite figure that you got in your collection?
You're asking some
What what
hard
what's
questions.
the one what's the one or two that you would never sell? You're always going to keep those.
Okay, so aside from like, I'm keeping this because my wife got it for me. I'll show you the ones that me personally I would want to keep forever just because. And the first one being the Hoth speeder outfit, the
Oh,
pilot
there he
Luke
is.
here.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back Luke.
So it's just the sculpt is beautiful. The outfit is amazing. Um, the base is something different. Now, Hot Toys likes to do kind of the same bases. You can see this Vader here has a really cool base. It lights up, but it's also like a premium figure. This one is just the weathering on it's gorgeous, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that one a lot.
Now, can you stuff them in a tom tom to keep them warm? That's the question.
You could keep you could keep the tauntaun lukewarm. It won't go any past that though.
All right.
Oh man, dad jokes. So,
Uh,
um, other than that, I think
Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. TJ was trying to adjust his camera and he dropped out, and boom, he's
oh
back.
yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what just happened there. Um, so what I was gonna say, unless this one became something that was worth like tons and tons of money, this
Oh my God. Look at how realistic Harley Quinn looks. This
Margot
should be a
Robbie,
video podcast because that is like looking at a 6-inch Margot Robbie
this is
herself.
this is a
Crazy.
Hot Toys figure. So this one's 12 inch, but she
That is
is
crazy how accurate that looks.
yeah, she's beautiful. That was one of my grails for a while, and then we ended up going to Isle of Palms in North Carolina, South Carolina, one of the two. And there was a comic shop out there that had her for I think it was 400 or something. And I asked the guy, I said, if I give you 350 cash, and of course, anybody listening that's like, oh, toys, yeah, you always make sure to check prices online, sold on eBay and all that,
Right.
just to be sure. But she was going for about 450 to 500 at the time. And
Right.
I said, if I bring you 350 cash, can we out the door it at 350? And he was like, yeah, you bring me 350 cash. So we went to the bank. I paid a little $4 fee and saved myself $50. But it is, as far as Hot Toys go, those two and the Punisher that I showed you are probably the three that I would, if I had to sell them, I would be like, dude, I don't know. I don't want to do it. I can't.
Right.
Probably couldn't bring myself to it. But I've got to separate these because the Hot Toys and Mythics, if I had to choose those three or the Mythics, I would have to sell the Mythics before I sold any of those three, and that's
Well,
probably.
I got to tell you, I didn't realize I wanted John Wick or the Punisher until I saw him down there. That's pretty spectacular.
They
I
are
might
really
have to
cool.
maybe I might have to get a probably not a Hot Toys version, but man, those look pretty good. Those
Uh,
are so realistic, and that Harley Quinn, man, that is spot on.
she is
Hmm.
beautiful, and it's for anybody that's listening, being like, which one? It's the Suicide Squad version of Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the first one. Yeah, it's God, it's unrealistic how real that looks.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it, and that's probably as far as the likeness on the character. That is my by far favorite. I think that she is.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Harley fan. So Margot Robbie for me just sold it. I've been a Harley fan since I was little. Of course, not she's like crazy and cute and so on, and then Margot Robbie plays her, and I was like, okay,
right.
yeah. Now she's got a special place in my heart.
That's right. All right, TJ. If you woke up with Jedi powers, what would you do with your Jedi powers?
So if I had just a second to think about it, I would definitely freak my wife out to begin with. So
That's right.
that would be.
Don't worry, I got this, and you can just float it through the room.
We actually have a little ferret. Her name is Ahsoka Tano, and I would float the ferret into the living room with my force levitation abilities while my wife's drinking
Right.
coffee, just so she could
That's
spit it
right.
out and be like, "What is happening?" I'm like, "I'm a Jedi, babe." So that, yeah.
That's right. Would you tell anybody you were a Jedi, or would you be like Obi-Wan in the original trilogy? Just be the guy that everyone thought lived over there, but didn't do anything special.
Hmm. I think the I think if I had to tell someone, the only person I would tell is my wife, just because
Right.
there's as soon as you have a special ability, as we've seen from X-Men and Star Wars and all these different franchises of things that we've grown up on, it's seeing that there's that one person that has a special ability. They want
Right.
they want you to fix the world, and then you have the weight of the world on your
Yeah.
shoulders. So you can only fix what you're capable of. You still are only
That's right.
human. So
I know exactly what you would do. You will give me this hot toy for $100.
I did not even think about that. Oh
You're
man.
going to be waving those two fingers at every vendor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
Uh,
ride a motorcycle too, so I think if I could do it from afar and I see someone kind of pulling over, I'm like, "You will not cut me off," and they're like, "I'm not gonna cut that guy off." So
right.
I would definitely, yeah. Oh man, dude, I did not even think about.
That's right.
Whew, you're smart. If I could go somewhere and I'm like, "Hey, can you give me that $100 figure for $80?" and they're like, "I don't know, 85." I'll go 80. And they're like, "Okay." I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
You will give it to me for $80. I will give you that toy for
And
$80.
people next to me are like, "How the heck?" I'm like, don't worry about it.
Right. Don't worry about it. It's just a special trick. Yeah,
That would be cool.
that's what I know what you do. What do you think is your most expensive figure in your collection? If somebody was to
Huh.
come and evaluate what you got, what do you think would run for the most money?
So it would definitely be one of the hot toys, but if we separate it between mythics and hot toys, the mythics I can't remember his name, but he's like a bull type figure gladiator. He runs about 250 ish. And then as far as hot toys go, I'm not exactly sure if the Harley Quinn or the Punisher, I'm not sure which one is more expensive now, like resale. But if I had to guess, I would say the Punisher is probably my most expensive. Uh, as far as resale, it's probably the most valuable.
Yeah,
And this
yeah, that's
Darth Maul has a his speeder from the Phantom Menace. He has that with that one. That's like DX-17 or something, but his speeder has lights and all that. It's still in the box. I didn't
right.
have the room for it up there, but you'd be surprised that one. I think I paid 450 for it, but the Punisher still is around that or a little higher, and I've seen that Darth Maul drop a little bit.
Now, what'd you think about? Did you see the movie Han Solo, the prequel
I
Han
did.
Solo?
Yeah, I actually really
Now, what'd
enjoyed
you
that.
think about Darth Maul at the end, being like the being like the criminal overlord right there at the end? The movie flopped so bad that they never continued on with that
It
storyline, which I wish they would have, because my kid, and I liked Han Solo, but my kid really dug it when he was in the theater. He was yelling and screaming and shouting at the screen. He was having so much fun.
have you guys
He loved
watched?
that movie.
Have you watched the Clone Wars series, the animated series?
Yeah, my son's watched all of them. I have a hard time getting into anything animated. I don't know what it is about animated,
I
but I haven't really watched any of it. But my son, he loves it. He's 16. He loves all of that stuff.
See. I grew up on a lot of animated stuff like Scooby Doo and Powerpuff Girls and Cat Dog and all that. So to me, animated is just like it's kind of another aspect of my entertainment, I guess.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I watched all the animation, but I don't know what it is now. The only animated anything that I've really enjoyed was Invincible on Amazon.
that is a good
If you haven't
series.
seen, yeah, that one I got into because I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about it, and so I turned it on, and that one I dug. But yeah, I had a hard time getting into anything animated. Otherwise, my kids watch a lot of anime, and
Oh
they
yeah.
they forced me. Well, they didn't force me, but I tried to watch. I told you I'm so bad with names. Um, ah, I don't know what kind of anime fan you are, but it's anyway. Um, oh, Demon Slayer. That's what it is. I sat and watched some Demon Slayer with them, and I tried so hard to get into it with them because they were just hardcore all about it. No, I just can't do it. And it's
There.
not even a kid show. It's super adult,
Oh yeah.
super gory, super adult. Um, I don't know, man. I just couldn't get into it.
There's like a small handful of anime that I really enjoyed, which would be Dragon Ball Z is one of them. I haven't seen every episode because, good lord, I would be like 55 by
Oh,
the time
dude,
I
there's like
finished.
10 billion episodes of any of those
Yeah.
things.
So the Dragon Ball Z stuff I like. There's a series called Kakaguri, which is like
Yeah.
a weird gambling thing, which it was awesome. Death Note's really cool. And then I don't know
Yeah, my kids have watched Death Note too.
if they're into anime and they haven't watched Erased. I think it's on Netflix. It is a beautiful story.
Yeah, I'll
It's
ask my
amazing.
daughter. She watches a lot. Yeah, but what do you think of Darth Maul at the end being the criminal mastermind? And I was thinking, all right, is this? I was like, I guess this is before Phantom Menace. I was like, but it can't be before Phantom Menace. It's got to be after Phantom Menace.
Yeah, it was
I
after
was,
Phantom
yeah,
Menace, but it was
I was
to
like, he's
me.
not. He's got both parts.
To me, it was a little weird, but it was before Phantom Menace, so we do see the little bit of evolution there, and then the story of Darth Maul continues in the Clone Wars, which comes to some sort of a brutal end between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. Of course, Ahsoka's in there kicking some major butt.
Oh, that's right. He is in Clone Wars, isn't he?
So yeah, so I think the story does continue enough to where I was satisfied with his storyline, and I don't really necessarily need to see anything else on Darth Maul, but it was a little confusing at the end of Solo where they didn't have any follow up until you get to Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I think they probably originally planned. I think there was a storyline they had ready to go, but the movie just didn't perform. So I
Yeah,
guess I decided not to do it.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but you can kind of piece it together for the most part, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. One more thing about TJ that you guys don't know is TJ's got his own YouTube channel, everybody,
Boom,
and
that is correct.
you can check him out on YouTube. What's your channel called, TJ?
It's called TJ Toy Hunts, and one of the things that I like to do on my channel now, I'm still fairly new, so if you guys check it out, it's definitely supporting kind of sort of like a small business. Um, I've enjoyed it. I'm not really doing it to like be famous or anything. I'm doing it because it's very fun. But TJ Toy Hunts on YouTube, and I like to do a lot of giveaways right now actively as this podcast comes out. I have 3 giveaways in progress of like, comment and subscribe and enter to win these things. So definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. I go to conventions and comic shops and unboxings, and there's everything that brings a lot of the other toy channels where they just do conventions or they just do toy hunts at like Walmart and Target or just unboxings. I bring it all together as a whole, and it's kind of like you never know what you're going to get week to week. So um, we're actually we're actually going to San Diego Comic-Con in about 2 weeks, and that is going to
Nice.
be a small series of videos that is probably, hopefully, going to help the channel blast off a little more because SDCC is the biggest convention, I believe, in the U.S. as far as pop culture
Yeah,
goes.
I would think so. Um, yeah, his channel's pretty neat. I really enjoy you you and your buddy just kind of being goofy back and forth as you're looking at stuff,
Oh
walking
yeah,
around.
yeah. That's my buddy Tyler. He actually he's a writer. He has a book called Nightfall Peak. If you guys want to check it out, if anybody reads, I'm not a huge reader, but I really enjoyed his book. I read it through, and it was a really cool story. So it's just a little.
What was his? I was gonna. What was the name of the book again?
It's called Nightfall Peak.
Nightfall Peak. Where can we find that at if people want to pick it up?
It should be on Amazon, I believe, is where he's got it listed at. But it's a good read. Shameless little plug there because I know I know he's always excited. He's like, man, thanks for the shout
Hey,
out.
we hey, all of us that are trying to get our stuff going as much as we can. We like all the kind of shout outs possible.
Oh yeah, the community here is really good as far as the comic shops. There, let me put my custom cards out and my YouTube cards and, and offering for
Yeah.
like put my custom stuff in the shops and sell them, and it's a really cool community here in Knoxville. I love how everybody helps everybody. So kind of bring that through the state line.
For
Also,
sure.
in the process of shameless little shout outs here, if you don't mind, I've got one more for you. It is the Mythic Legions Cabal on Facebook. It is it's purely Mythic Legions based. If you guys are into it or interested, um, I know there's a ton of people that just hate Facebook and it's the toxicity, and especially in collecting groups, it's like we're all doing the same thing. Why are you mad about a price or upset that I don't agree with you? The Mythic Legions Cabal is not like that. I've been in there for a little while now, and they're all just extremely sweet, very kind-hearted people, willing to help anybody out with anything. And I just think that even if I did get out of Mythics, I would stay in that group because it's amazing.
Yeah, I've always found all the collector groups, for the most part, everybody is super nice, and yeah, it's a little good community to be involved in
Yeah.
for sure. All right, I love it. All right, Tyler, I'm going to ask you about 6
Oh,
rapid
let's
fire
hear it. I'm ready.
questions. Uh, and so this doesn't have anything to do about Star Wars or Mythics or Hot Toys. I asked everybody the exact same 6
Okay.
questions. It's always interesting to hear what you guys have to say. All right, Tyler, outside of your family, what is the most beautiful thing you've
Okay.
ever
So
seen?
since we've been on Star Wars, the first thing that hits my brain is the Phantom Menace. But like, aside from entertainment, probably birds in Costa Rica on my honeymoon. That was
Oh
amazing.
my, that sounds
They
spectacular.
were
Yeah, I bet
gorgeous.
so. What what's your favorite smell?
Oh, it's like the sweet candles that kind of have like a pecan and caramel smell. Those.
Right? I thought you were going to say when I walk into a
Oh
convention,
no,
the convention room
that it
floor,
smells like clean floors, plastic, and sweat by like 3 o'clock.
and old men. Yeah. Hmm. All right. What's your favorite sandwich?
Ooh, well, I have to I have to say this, but I'm vegan. I've been vegan for a while, so it's not gonna be like a
We were vegan for quite a long time ourselves until my daughter started working at Chick-fil-A, and then it kind of went
oof.
downhill
Yeah, I
after
used
that.
to work at KFC. I was like 16. I would say that, a very underrated sandwich that I haven't made in a long time, probably peanut butter and jelly. That's got to be my favorite.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of is like a staple, especially when you're buying all kinds of mythics and hot toys and tattoos. The peanut butter and jelly is going to be around quite a
I didn't
lot.
even think about that, but yeah, that's probably why.
Yep. What is your favorite drink of any kind?
Oh man, I mean, honestly, it's probably water. Like,
Yeah, that's what I drink the
yeah,
most,
I
you
just don't do a lot of
myself.
caffeine anymore. I've had some coffee this morning, so I can be a little talkative for you. But
Uh, I my wife got me an espresso maker at Christmas because if we ever rolled through Starbucks, that's basically what I
oh
got
yeah,
was
there
an
you go. It's a lot
espresso.
cheaper.
And I have finally figured out the recipe for espresso. So I've been finding myself drinking one of
Very
those most
nice.
mornings myself. What makes you happy every single time it happens?
So I have to say, walking in and seeing my collection is one of the things that makes me happy every time. But also, I have, I'm not a dad, but I'm a little a fur baby dad. So I've got my cat and
Yeah,
ferret. We've got a turtle, fish, bearded dragon. So all the babies make me super happy.
yeah, we got a
They're
bearded
really
dragon
mine
too.
is Captain Rex.
Nice. Ours is
Oh,
called
cool.
Puffy.
I like that.
I don't remember how that name came to be. I guess Puff the Magic Dragon, maybe,
Yeah,
but it was
that makes
called
sense.
Puffy. If you could give your kid self one little nugget of advice, what
Invest
would
in
you
the
tell
stock
them?
market.
Little invest in the stock market. There you go. There's a smart
110%.
man. Or tell your parents to invest in the
So
stock
it's one of
market.
those where I wouldn't tell my younger self, save money, save money. It's, get the knowledge that you need because and I know, the teaching thing you were talking about. I wholeheartedly believe that there's a lot of things in life that we weren't taught in schools that are could have been very useful. And
That's right. Stock market's
financing
one of
in
those.
general, I think, is a huge,
Yep.
huge, huge part of everyone's life because unfortunately, not everyone's parents are like super rich and they're like, oh, here's your Forerunner for Christmas. And you're like, oh, good, I'm set on a car, so I don't need to worry about that.
Yep.
Every car I've had
Yep.
has been years and years old. I've worked on them myself, and it's just,
Same.
I never, I did this. This is my stock market. I'm for the listeners, I'm pointing to my collection here. It's,
Right.
investing money in this, and there's probably only a handful of these that I have where I could sell them for less than I paid. So there's that.
Yeah, man. All right.
All
Last
right.
question. Um, if you, who do you think would be a good guest to have on the
Hmm.
podcast? Who would you recommend?
I would highly recommend my friend Bill Langford. He is the owner of Knoxville's longest running comic shop. He's been in South Knoxville
Oh, that
for
is
about
awesome.
28 years now, and he is very knowledgeable on anything comics, pop culture in general. He has in his back room probably when they moved, I loaded up all the hot toys for him because that was my help. I was like, yeah, I'll take care of those. So
Right.
I had crates full of hot toys that we would move from one place to the other, and
Nice.
they were insane. So he's got a lot of knowledge. I think he could bring a lot to your podcast, and I would be happy to share with him. I haven't heard this yet on the podcast, so I kind of want to be the first one to turn it around. I know you're towards closing it, but can I ask you a couple questions?
Yeah,
So I'm
man,
going to
go
go with a
ahead.
couple of yours. What is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen?
Um, yeah,
No, yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't really thought about those
You stump
questions on
me, I'll
my own.
stump you.
One of the most beautiful things I think oh, I know exactly what it is. My son and I went to Tampa, Florida last year. We did a little vacation to go see a
Oh,
YouTuber that he
cool.
watched. To go down there, Chandler's Wildlife. If you ever
I have heard
watched
of that.
that,
Yeah.
he's going to get himself eaten one day. Anyway, we went to go see him, but the beach on the Gulf of Mexico on that side, I had never seen that
Okay.
before. I was born in California, so I've seen West Coast beaches, I've seen East Coast beaches, living now in North Carolina. But I had never been to a Gulf beach, and the water was like it was flat, and you could walk out forever into the ocean. Well, the Gulf of
Oh, wow.
Mexico, anyway. That was crazy. I didn't know if the whole beaches across the Gulf were like that or not, or just around Tampa. But we stood out there in the water and watched the sun set
Oh,
over the
wow.
water, and that was beautiful for me. I'd never seen that. That was
That's
crazy. So I would have to say that was probably outside, of course, of my family and kids. One of the most beautiful things I've seen was that sun setting on the Gulf of
oh,
Mexico
that's a
there at
really good
Tampa.
answer. Um, the next one I'll say, what was your favorite toy as a child, and what's your favorite toy as an adult?
Toy as a child was He
Okay,
Man.
yeah.
He had his chest would spin to show battle damage
Ooh,
if you hit him in the middle. The first time, once I got, I guess, into college and older, I threw away all the kids' toy stuff. I stopped
cool.
doing all that. I think as a lot of people do. But then I met a buddy later on and went into his. It's a shed, but it's as big as a house.
Wow.
But it's a little shed, but it's huge. But he is a big time collector, and he had action figures of all sorts all over the place, and Legos of all sorts all over the place. And I was like, I didn't know we could still do this.
Is this
Is this
acceptable?
allowed? I thought that was something we don't have to do this anymore. So anyway, but yeah, so He Man, and then after seeing him, would be Optimus Prime would be another one that I wouldn't
Oh,
mind having.
have you? I don't know who makes
Yeah.
it, but have you seen the Optimus Prime that you can like lay on the table and you say Optimus transform and it's like
Oh
Autobots.
my God, that would be a that would be a great
That
gift. Yeah,
is,
that'd be awesome. That's an easy like $400
I
probably.
have no idea. I'm not, admittedly, I'm not huge into Transformers. I love the franchise. The toys are cool, but I'm more of like action figure type. And I know Transformers are considered action figures, but I don't know. I just never got into like collecting cars and stuff like that. So it was a little
Right.
out of my thing. Um,
Yeah. So He Man is the answer for both because uh, when I realized, I was like, wait, there's a lot of grown people that still collect and use all this stuff. So when the new He Man came out on Netflix, I'm a big Kevin
oh
Smith
yeah.
fan who had a little bit to do with getting that show made. So the first action figure I bought as an adult was I got He
You
Man
know, Kevin
again.
Smith and Jason Mewes will actually be at Fanboy in Knoxville this coming weekend. Um,
Nice.
I guess the last question I'll shoot your way before you close it out is gonna be. It might be a hard one. I don't know. When people ask me, I'm kind of on and off again about my answer. But if you had to pick one character from Star Wars to call your favorite, who would that be?
Um, I've always been an Obi-Wan favorite, especially since you and
Oh yeah.
McGregor took it over. Um, let's see. Let me think on it for a second. Um, if Obi-Wan sticks around
See,
for me
that's
or not, I hadn't thought about which one I'd want to be before. Um, it might be Obi-Wan though. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Obi-Wan. Yeah, I think if I had to be
I
one,
think
I think I
outside
would
of
go
like
Obi-Wan.
Mace Windu and Yoda, Obi-Wan has to be the wisest.
Mace Windu is that's a good
Yeah,
answer
and
too.
I
I mean,
just
I wouldn't have let Palpatine kill me off though. If I'm Samuel Jackson, I'm going
oh,
Pulp
dude,
Fiction
right?
on that man. I was like, how did you let Mace Windu, Samuel Jackson get killed
Who
by
put
Palpatine?
all these Palpatines on this ship? I
Right?
think that
Right?
yeah, he's
I was like, come on,
uh,
man. Yeah, I was like, they missed a couple of a good little like just a couple of good ways. They could have had him
imagine
recreate some Pulp Fiction lines, but just in Star
imagine
Wars
seeing
lingo.
Sam Jackson with that purple lightsaber around just Phantom Menace style. Just went all crazy like Ewan
Yeah.
McGregor as Obi-Wan in episode 1. Just oh,
Yep. Yep.
missed opportunities.
Um yeah, and I got to say one of the hypest moments I ever was for Star Wars, especially with the prequels, was when they released a trailer and you saw Yoda bring out a
Oh
lightsaber
yeah.
when he forced it from his cape across his body and lit it up. Oh, dude, I get
Yeah, I
goosebumps just now
literally
thinking about it. I was like, oh, I was screaming in my house when
it
I saw that
was
trailer, and we were finally getting
oh yeah, it
Yoda
was
with a
as he was gonna go
lightsaber.
fight Dooku, right?
Yep, and then he was like a
Oh
squirrel
man.
when he was fighting. He was everywhere, and then he went back to his cane when
Oh
he was
yeah,
done.
it was crazy. And I
Yeah,
guess that gets a couple of questions in there for the people to get to know you a little bit better.
man, that was a good question. Yeah,
Absolutely,
I
man.
love it.
I'm very happy to have been on. It's a really cool setup. I enjoyed it.
Remember, folks, find out what makes you happy and get to it. There's a lot of life out there to live. Take time, enjoy it.
Right
Everybody have
on.
a good week.
Tennessee, Tennessee, Tennessee.